Welcome to the Talking Timelines podcast. We are four women with 4 points of view and four accents with one common goal: to share insights and information about what's going on in the world from a higher consciousness perspective. No BS, no PC, just lots of ideas that you won't hear on mainstream media. We chat, we laugh, and most of all, we shed and share light. Join us each week as we talk timelines.
Hi everyone, welcome to Talking Timelines episode 43 today. And today we've got a few things on the agenda we'd like to chat with you about. Laura was just mentioning a video she sent me that I forgot to watch, so I'm going to ask Laura to remind me what that was about, and we'll take it from there.
So, as most people on the planet know, the Knicks just won the championship, which they haven't done in 53 years. Now, granted, that is something to celebrate, especially for New York, because there's no. And by the way, I live in New York. I've been in New York most of my life, so New Yorkers have this pride, right? And especially when it comes to sports teams and whatever. And for 53 years, I can understand the excitement about this. And there's all these videos going around of when they won the fifth game, which actually wasn't in New York, it was in San Antonio. But the videos that I saw was the celebration of the win. So there was in New York City, and it was in, basically all around basically New York, even out here where I am in the Hamptons there, which is relatively small town-ish. There were crowds. And anyway, the videos that I saw in the city, there was this level of celebration that was basically bordering on hysteria.
Mm.
And it was just people, I'm watching this. And then, of course, there's always the violence in crowds. There's always this people, they're celebrating a win. They ruin someone's taxi cab. They set a bus on fire. So there's this violence that happens as well. But even the level of celebration to me seemed so extreme that I immediately felt something's off about this. And I use the example. I was talking to somebody about just an example of when years ago, like the New York Yankees baseball team, when they clinched, the bottom of the ninth and bases loaded and there's a home run. I remember because I used to be a Yankee fan back then. And all of a sudden they win, and the exuberance. I remember that feeling of excitement, but this was different. And when I sent the video to Janine, your response was that I guess you also felt the same thing, and that you thought that there was probably some amplification of frequency or 5G or something, because it just, I forget what you said, but it
Oh
was,
yeah, I did watch that
you
video. Sorry, I
did.
thought we were talking about another one. Yeah, I remember I did watch it. I remember reading years ago about how Hertz resonance, like we've got brainwave frequencies, theta, delta, beta, gamma brainwave frequencies, and they're all within certain ranges. Can't remember them offhand. But I remember reading about something, this is between 10 and 11 Hertz. When that is played through these big towers and whatever, that it causes hysteria and can cause rioting. There's a certain frequency that sends people into that, hysterical state. And when you sent me the video, that's what I was picking up on. It's like, this isn't just people being happy. This is a manipulation of their brainwave frequencies.
Right.
That's what
And
I
what
was
I
picking up
what
on.
I, and what I thought would be interesting to talk about is that people could say, "Oh, but they're celebrating a positive thing. What's wrong with that?" Well, even the manipulation of that, you're manipulating people's energies, and probably what causes those people to do the violence. When people react to frequencies differently, but even that level of over the top celebration is not, it just didn't feel like a normal. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people have seen the videos in New York City of just going insane, as
Mm.
if New York needs another reason to like amplify the energy already that's there.
Yeah.
But, it made me think about all the ways that our energy, our frequencies being manipulated that we're not aware of.
Yeah, well, then you're talking about everything that's been going on last weekend with the football,
Hmm.
with the UFC, at the White House, all of the energy of that, which is, it's one side against another. It's divide and conquer as far as I'm concerned, sport. It's never been my thing. I've been to one rugby match in my life. I watched one football match in my life because I knew somebody's son who was in on the team, and it was a big deal for my hometown in 1987. Um, and I just don't like being in those crowds. I've been to two pop concerts, no, three in my life. One of them I walked out of.
Hmm.
Um, I just don't like being in that energy. It just never felt right to me. And when I understood later in life about energy harvesting is what we were going to talk about, that's when I realized, oh, that's why I was guided away from it. Because what happens is the screens, wrestling is another one, is
Oh,
against them, and
huge.
what that conjures up. The screens are portals. We've talked about this before. Your phone's a portal, your computer's a portal, your television's a portal, you know, your GPS in your car is even a portal. All of these things can be used to drain energy from the people that's in the auditorium. And not only that, it's gone a step further than that recently with when you buy a ticket to go to one of these things, you're giving consent. People in the
Mm,
conspiracy world, and I'm
right.
doing air quotes, guys, be those at home, talk about conspiracy stuff that it's not this energy harvesting is going on, and it is happening through screens. It's happening through where there's big groups of people coming together, they get fired up and their energy is taken from them, go home feeling exhausted, especially if you're sensitive to it.
And by buying a ticket, I think you were saying is that you're actually giving permission. You're giving
You're
consent.
giving, yeah, the conspiracy people that are, and I use the term loosely, guys, if you're one of them. It's giving consent to any rituals that are taking place. So if you go back and look at these big events at the football stadiums and stuff like that, they're very satanic in the dress, the fire, the flames dressed as red demons, and all this kind of stuff is part of that satanic worship that people are talking about in the conspiracy timeline. And it is a timeline that exists. It's not woo-woo, it's not conspiracy theory, it's conspiracy fact, because that timeline does exist. And the reason I know that timeline does exist, I've had clients that have been abused in that timeline under, ritualistic pedophilia type of thing, in my therapeutic practice. So, I know what goes on. I've heard the stories, I've read books about it. I I went into some very deep rabbit holes on what's going on there because I just had a feeling I was going to be able to, help some of these people out of it, out of the sexual trauma and stuff that goes on. And I've also worked with shamans and know how to take negative spirits out of people and all kind of stuff that your average therapist doesn't do. So I know that timeline exists. It's not my timeline. I've taken everything out of my consciousness that could be connected to that timeline. Everything's a program, remember? We've talked about this stuff before. But when you buy a ticket, you're basically joining in the entertainment, which is inner possession of the mind. That's what the word means, entertainment. So you agree to be entertained. You agree to have your mind possessed and infiltrated by what's going on in those ceremonies. And a lot of them are ritualistic. And it doesn't take, a brain surgeon to realize that when you're looking at some of these weird videos, what's being done. And it's been going on
Yeah.
for a long time. I mean, even you go back to, when Madonna was sticking crucifixes in certain orifices in her body in videos and stuff like that. This stuff has been going on for a long time. Some people think it's
Yeah.
cool.
But you know
It's
what,
been,
Janine? Like the thing is that it's not like what you said, people might think it's woo-woo. So we'll invite the audience listening today or to this podcast to, do some searches of what like for what comes to mind is Sam Smith. Look at his concerts, look at The Weekend, look at like some of the Olympic opening
mhm.
ceremonies and it's right in front of you to see. So, do what you will with what you see with your own eyes. And but it's definitely, there's if it's not coincidence, it's correlated in so many different ways. And that's Billie Eilish. The symbols, like the devil's horns.
Yes.
Just you can see celebrities, do that. What's his name? Not Shaquille O'Neal, for sure, like not him, but LeBron James. When you see him like at the beginning of a game, and he'll salute, but it's definitely a horned person that he's saluting. So people just need to do some searches.
What Lisa's doing here, she's holding up a hand where you keep your thumb, your index finger, and your little finger sticking up in the air. That is a symbolic sign for Satan. Now, the kids are being taught this, that it's a cool thing to do, like sticking your thumb up, but it's linked into some of that really negative stuff. So they're being duped into making symbolic images with, even signs, even with their hands, that it's cool to have a demon on your t-shirt or Satan on your t-shirt or devil, all that stuff's being made cool to drag them all into it.
And who would be, yeah. I was just going to say, who we were talking yesterday about NCP, Janine, and that those people are the ones who would be drawn into that.
Yes.
So could you explain to everybody what NCP is too?
Yeah, I think we did to MPC, NCPs, non-character players.
Actually, last podcast we talked about that.
Yeah, we did.
But let's
on it.
Bring it up again. Yeah,
it's expanding. There's more and more people out there now talking about 80% of the population are these non-source players, non-character players, and that they're basically just part of the hologram. They're soulless, so they're organic in the fact that they live and breathe the same as we do. They've got an energy field, but they're just part of the program. So we've all met them. We've all met people. I mean, even Susan was talking about it a couple of weeks ago. You're trying to tell people stuff and it just goes in one ear and out the other, and they just revert straight to the same old story that the system is not corrupt. And the government wouldn't do that to us, and the healthcare system wouldn't do that to us, and they're just so brainwashed by it that maybe they're part of this non-source players, which soulless beings that are just programs in this holographic simulation that we're all taking part in. So that would mean that approximately 1.6 billion are real souls on the planet, and the rest are not. They're these non-source players that are just here to irritate us and to try and manipulate the mass consciousness. I was listening to somebody earlier that said they're not affecting the mass consciousness. I don't believe that. If they're standing next to us and they've got an organic frequency, they have to be affecting the mass consciousness because they're part of the machine. So I think there's people giving out information about these that is incorrect to try and make people not concern themselves with it, but they are not good things. These are non-source players, non-character players. People call them different things, but we've all met people like that. They're just completely programmed by the system. And look at your kind of Kardashian fans, for example. It's none of that stuff. It feels comfortable to me. It's like people just, you can sell them anything and they'll buy it. They just are part of the simulation, and not a good part. Because if you look back 100 years ago, there's only about 2 billion people on the planet. And now there's supposed to be nearly 8. Some people say 6 and a bit. However, they're definitely making a difference. So it's good to figure out if you know any of them and kind of steer clear, really. We did touch on it.
My sister.
They can be family members. They can.
You heard, she's so indoctrinated. She's so brainwashed. My other sister and I can't believe it. We just.
But they can also be extremely narcissistic and just like programmed and narcissistic. There's not a lot of empathy there because of the soul essence and so on and so forth. Or if it comes across as empathic, it doesn't feel empathic.
No, there's no empathy whatsoever. That's the thing.
Yeah. And I'm like that with people. People can tell you anything. They can dress as anything. They can talk the talk, but they have to feel a certain way.
Right.
You can feel people. You can feel the BS. You can feel that they're being integral. You can feel they're just telling you what you want to hear, just making conversation. So by taking part, the thing is here, guys, if you are going to buy a ticket and go to any kind of concert, wrestling match, big gathering, anything like that, to by all means go. But just bear in mind that, you've entered into a contract by purchasing that ticket to be entertained, which is mind control, and to be part of that ritual. So you can say, I do not consent to this ritual, but I'm going to be here anyway. You can put protection around your energy field and, ask your higher self to seal you in so that you can't be drained. There are things you can do to protect yourself.
I heard it's also
Okay,
good
let's
to
talk about that.
to call your aura in.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
then to remember to also, when you get out of it, to also, because you don't want it always, tightly,
Yeah.
but you can actually call it in and then you can release it again or expand it.
So like shrink wrap your aura. So that can be done. Just close your eyes, take a couple of deep breaths, be aware of your aura, have a feel for it. Maybe it's 100 yards, maybe it's a mile long, who knows? Everyone's different, but kind of just go and shrink wrap yourself with your aura, pull it in with a deep breath, a deep breath in with your intention. And it's as simple as that. And then, set your intention. This is while I'm in this stadium or in this concert or wherever, and it's going to ask your higher self to release it for you when you leave again, just protecting your energy field. So there are things you can do.
I was going to say, it also can work the opposite way. Like I've been to a concert where the vibration was so high and the people attending it were so high. You walk out of there and you are flying and you feel amazing. So it
Yeah.
can
Yes.
work the other way. It really depends on the vibration of the music and the crowd that it attracts. And I mean, it can be an amazing experience, but that's definitely not always the case.
I had that happen
Absolutely.
last year with we were in Palm Desert, California, and we got tickets we purchased tickets for Simple Minds, and
Mm.
that was at a smaller type arena, and it was just the vibe there was so unreal. It was so positive. It was like, considering like the thousands of people that were there, it was just such a great vibe, and you felt safe. And I remember being at a Vancouver Canucks game about 3 years ago, and I felt like, ooh, the energy was just not good.
Like you don't feel safe.
I felt that. I felt like, ooh, there's just, I don't like, let's kind of peel out of here, you
Well,
know?
hockey's pretty
Yeah.
violent.
It's a lot of aggressive entities in those men. Because when you get angry, you attract them. You attract entities into your system. The same with UFC. When I remember here being in a pizza place, and UFC was on, and there was kids in there Saturday afternoon, and I could see these entities coming out the screen into the room where these children were. This violence is on the screen while they're having their Saturday lunch pizza with their parents, and the parents are not taking any notice of it. Like, your kids are in danger here. This is not something that should be on in the background when they're eating their food. I disagree with it completely. So yeah, that side of it. I've been to a concert in and the Moulin Rouge in Paris once, and it was a 200-piece choir and orchestra, and it was so angelic that it brought me to tears. So I agree with you. There are positive stuff, operas, classical concerts and stuff like that. They're going to raise your frequency. That's where the elites go, guys.
And when people are there and they're all in such joy, because the music, so then it gets expanded. I feel that way whenever Pat Metheny is one of my favorite. I don't know if you guys are familiar, the jazz, kind of like jazz fusion, and his
Okay.
music is just, I mean, I think it's like otherworldly. It's just, and the people, when you go to a concert, everyone, they love him, they adore his, and he has all these instruments, and you just, every single time you leave there feeling fantastic.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think like a lot of the musical stuff is, if as long as the lyrics are good and the intentions behind it, it's all about intention as well, you
Mm.
know. Um, I remember my son when he was about 17, he was really like listening to Marilyn Manson. Well,
Oh my God.
so I had started watching some Marilyn Manson stuff. Now I actually, as a person, he's got a good heart. I watched all about how he got to where he is and how he dabbled in some black magic stuff when he was about 14. And I think he picked up an entity. Sorry, Marilyn, if you're out there, but it is what it is. No disrespect. And that shows in his artwork, it shows in his attire and so on. But he opened his house to all of these unusual beings, the kind of people you would see in a freak show in the circus, and made that, brought all these unusual people into his home. And I do believe he's got a good heart. But I did a lot of research on him because my son was into him. And I'm like, what's going on here? Because I could see my son's mood changes after
Mm.
he'd listened to that music. Like he became grumpy and moody, and what, just his vibe dropped right down. Thankfully, he did grow out of it. But so I looked into that stuff, and I found out, like, he's on YouTube, Marilyn Manson's on YouTube, talking about how him and his friend went to this house and where they were doing, somebody, I think it was an older brother, who was doing rituals with black magic and chickens, killing chickens, sacrificing chickens, and he dabbled in something and did a conjuring. And that explained a lot to me. I think that's where his inspiration for his music and his look and everything else is coming from, that has affected him. But I don't think he's a bad person. He's extremely intelligent and very articulate. I did watch a lot of him because I kept an eye on what my son was watching. I was a single mom, so I had to. It's like it was all on me. Um, I couldn't stop him doing it because that's an infringement of his spiritual freedom as well. But I wanted to know what he was listening to. So it depends on who, what, why, where, what the intention is, and how it makes you feel. You can be at a concert and it's great, you're feeling great, but then when you go out of there, you're completely depleted. They're the
Mhm.
problematic ones. And the screens are being used as portals to drain the energy out of them. And this is being recorded on the 17th of June 26. Well, it's the solstice, this coming up in a few days. So it's no coincidence that all this energy is being vamped from people to use for the planetary alignment coming up for the solstice. So we'll see what comes of it. There's an agenda behind all of it.
23 years ago, there was from someone that was kind of like a coworker, there was a few of us that got together at my place. And I remember dancing with this one fellow named Mo. And all of a sudden he's there, like we're dancing, and then he's kind of feeling the vibe. He's going like leaning his head back, and literally his freaking head disappeared.
Wow.
I looked and I thought, how can you do that with it? Because if you do, like, say if you lean back like that, you're listening to the music, you can still see the neck and part of the head. I couldn't see his head.
It
And
bent
then I
that
found
far
out later
back.
that I was scared to kind of look around him because it's just completely gone. And then I learned later that he had dabbled with um, kind of trying to conjuring up like an evil spirit or something like that.
Okay.
Anyways, yeah, so I just thought, what the heck?
Yeah.
Anyways, that was the weirdest. I forgot about that until we started talking about this right now. His complete head disappeared.
Hmm. So, and I
I
think a
just
lot of, like we've talked about these non-source players, non-character players, I think a lot of them go to concerts. I think, they're followers.
Oh, totally.
They're followers. And so whoever's out there saying that they're not affecting the energetic reality that we project with our consciousness and saying it's just the, if it's the 1.6 billion or just the star season or whatever. I don't believe that. I think they're all affecting it. And I also think that the animal cruelty and factory farming is affecting it, our future as a collective on Earth as well. It's all energy. You can't say that the animals that are being tortured and slaughtered are not producing fear and terror energy that's going into the mass consciousness. That doesn't make sense in quantum physics at all. Everything is affecting it. So people need to consider that. I don't point the finger. I've been, vegetarian for a long time, 19 years. I don't mind people eating meat, but I do think they need to consider where the meat comes from and the trauma that the animal has experienced being put into our bodies as well. You said something earlier, Laura, about changing the subject now. Modalities are the new guru. Can you explain that?
Well, it kind of goes along with how the wellness industry is kind of, it's just become like any other, I don't want to say fad or trend, but when something becomes really mainstream, like the alternative health field has, then it just becomes another vehicle for people to look for a quick fix for something. So with modalities, which is kind of interesting because I work with modalities. I don't know, Ginny, what you consider working with modalities. I mean, I guess if you're doing hypnotherapy or certain things that would be considered modalities. So I kind of really thought about this for a while and how, I could see that if people are so attached to a modality, having the answer, that's just another way that not only are you giving your power away, but you're also going for something externally to quote unquote fix what's wrong. And we've seen there's so many trends right now. And what's interesting, because I kind of I do work at a wellness place. Well, I was working at a place that does all the state of the art wellness stuff, the whole biohacking industry, which I think we've talked about before, but it's like if red light therapy and people are taking peptide, they're doing all these things that are really accepted because it's the alternative wellness industry, but yet in many ways it could almost be as harmful as the more traditional stuff, right? So that's another area where discernment and how much energy and priority are you giving that in your life, that if you don't doing all these things, well, obviously you're not taking care of your health, you don't care about your health as much, doing all these things. And I just thought it was something interesting to explore because we seem to think anything that's labeled healthy or wellness is good and okay, no matter how much it could actually consume your day.
Yeah, well, there's plenty of things out there, and especially aimed at women as well. With that, it's not just health; it's health and beauty.
Right.
Like the cool sculpting for weight loss and stuff like that. I've asked about that stuff. Not that I'm needy. I'm lucky. I haven't never had a weight problem, but if I did, it was tempting to look into that area, for example. When I asked about it, when I was meditating, by the way, when you learn to master meditation, you can go in and you can tap into higher levels of consciousness and get the answers are within. That's where that saying comes from. And, I got told that it's not healthy at all. In fact, if you put certain things in a freezer and freeze them and then take them out, they've changed structure. Freeze a tomato and you'll see what I mean. Then take it out and let it defrost. It's like, bleh, it's just mush afterwards. So this freezing of fat cells is freezing your good cells as well.
I never heard of this. Are you
Cool,
talking about cryotherapy?
cool
No.
sculpting.
I never heard of
Yeah.
this.
Yeah. Cool
Yeah.
sculpting. Yeah. So
It
basically
came
they
out
wrap it.
about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, and it's marketed as like the weight loss, as a weight loss solution. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a lot of this stuff out there, and And a lot, like we were saying before on the social media now, is oh, this problem, this, and and then they're selling a product at the end of it. And I know it's marketing, and that's the way marketing works, but there's an agenda that just doesn't feel right about a lot of these now. It's,
It should be education. If you're going to be sharing something with someone that could benefit someone, it shouldn't sound marketing, and it should be something that is education for them so they can using discernment, they can make a decision for themselves whether they want to try it or not, rather than be pushed it, right? So last week I jumped on a call that I learned about a, product, this girl that she had these people that were taught. It was so well done. And I thought, wow, this is refreshing, until the girl that hosted it came on at the end, and she just said, like, you've heard from, some of the people that were experiencing great things, fantastic. But you'd be brain dead not to, try this. And I thought, wrong words to use,
yeah,
and I just thought everything just flowed so beautifully, because I've been, like in the wellness industry for 31 years, and, have the privilege of learning about through, different applications and what's being, produced out there. The level of upgrade in wellness products and what's available to us is stellar, but you got to kind of, go through the weeds. And then when you hear people that present it that way, that's a lot of times nothing to do with the company or the product, but look at that delivery. That was poor. So if someone said that to me and I was just looking at something, I'd be so turned off. I'd be like, I was good until that point, and it's like, no.
hmm
The
yeah,
thing also with this stuff, with a lot of these, is that there's no one size fits all. So someone will hear the infrared sauna, which is one of the things, the place that I worked at, infrared sauna. Oh, it's good. So people are going in there. There are people that are going in there for an
oh,
hour
no,
in
no, no,
infrared
no, no,
sauna.
Mm.
And what they don't know, oh my God, more must be better because I'm sweating. Well, you know what? You're also sweating out all vital minerals that your body needs. So it's this, oh, more must be better, or this may be good for me. And also for a lot of women, the cold plunge is terrible for women. A lot of
mm,
women, most women. Um,
yeah.
so that's the other thing, is that for anything in the wellness industry, in anything, it's not always appropriate for everybody.
Well, it's
And
like the fasting. Fasting for women can totally disrupt your hormonal balance
mhm.
as well. I've done
Even
it.
extreme
Oh,
exercise, the same thing. It's
yeah.
and back talking about modalities, it's kind of the same thing. There's not everything that's going to be appropriate for everybody. And not to say that everyone needs to be able to test themselves. And, that's another thing too, is that people are like, well, but just do maybe a little research, or just, why are you jumping on this one thing, or why are you doing it to this extreme? Because then
Mm,
it just becomes counterproductive.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Here's the one thing that I've learned too, is like when we offer products, like when we offer products, our company, there's a lot that will cover someone's needs. But if there is something, like, it's almost like an application. When I talk to people, it's like, what are your concerns? Well, maybe before you try our products, maybe you should go get a hair analysis to see, like, what your levels of metal are, things like that, and just kind of hone in on that first, because it might even be your issues might even stem from a potassium deficiency,
Yeah.
but what I see is that people, and this is what really just shocks me, is that something could be good for someone, but another company offers it and they won't share it. It's only the products that they have that they'll share. You know
Mm,
what I mean? So like they'll know of a product that might help that person, or get to the root cause that they can take temporarily to, cover the deficiency. But they'll just say, oh, no, no, just focus on what we got here. That's what drives me crazy. Is like
yeah.
there's,
Well, that's the
like,
lack of integrity out there,
yeah,
isn't it? It's all about just making money. And like you said, Laura, we're moving from the allopathic to holistic stuff that is not as pure in its delivery by the people that are selling it. We still need to be careful. You can't just jump from one to the other. There's a couple of female doctors, new doctors on Instagram that everyone's listening to at the moment, and they seem like pretty genuine, cool women. Kale.blossom, one of them's called.
Oh yeah, I saw that. And someone
Yeah.
was challenging.
Yeah, and I was watching what they've been saying about pap smears and stuff like that. And left a comment on there. I don't go on them very often, but I left a comment saying the solution is learning to tap into your own body and do body scan yourself, which is what we do. I meditate morning and night every day. Sometimes if I'm on the beach in the afternoon or on the deck or whatever. And I just scan through my body. I'm like, how's my liver doing? I get told it could do with a bit of a clean. So peaches. The next day I went out, there's a big jar of peaches, like huge jar of peaches on offer. And I know peaches cleanse my liver. So I'm just having like a peach every day. Give it a little bit of an extra. Food is medicine, as long as you know how to use it. I used to drink chamomile tea all the time until I found out that more than 2 or 3 cups a day is not good for you. So I laid off that and then moved on to the water with a dash of salt and a slice of lemon. So even like what we consider to be what's good for us, if you take too much of it, can be bad for you as well. And the only way you can really learn, is to learn to tune into yourself. What does my body need? I will ask and get told you need an Epsom salt bath, 2 baths in 4 days. Soak for 20 minutes. You're a little bit magnesium depleted. And I'll do that, and then I'll check in. Everything's back into balance again. So, and this can be taught to people to do. We've been so pulled away from our natural feminine instincts and intuition into go and buy a pill, go and ask somebody else to fix you. That's a program.
I was just going to say, we're also in a quick fix society that people have a symptom, they just want a cure. They don't necessarily want to find out what's causing it. They don't care. Take my discomfort away, take my pain away. I don't care what's causing it. Just give me something. And
Yeah.
that's a big part of the problem. We don't want to ask, we don't want, you know what? A lot of people don't want to tune in.
Yeah, I know.
And it's great when you do have a relationship with your body, when you can ask it what it needs, and it'll tell you. It'll tell you, and then you feel much more empowering to check in and just see like, okay, what's going on? What does it need? And to be able to go, like you said, go eat peaches or eat something else, and you feel better. You're like, wow, I didn't need some external validation to tell me, oh, this is the thing I need to take. And I think huge amount of things out there are placebos. Huge.
Yeah, I do as well. And certain things, how like with just there's metal toxicity is a massive problem. We know that plastic toxicity is a massive problem as well. I haven't used a lot of plastics in my time, so it's not been something that I've had to clean out. But I do keep on top of putting cilantro in my food to remove metal toxins as well. And the product that I recommend to people, because I've seen the results of it, is zeolite. Zeolite seems to be cleaning metal toxins and parasites out of the brain and the cells if you buy the triple pack. I'm not an affiliate. I don't, get paid by anyone. And I don't recommend things to people unless they're my, close friends. But the zeolite, I've seen what that can do for people. And my good friend in England's done all the research on it, and I trust her as well. So
Yeah.
that is one thing we all need to keep on top of, detoxing at the moment, because now they're rolling out the next level of 6G, etc. There's more of that EMF frequency coming into our bodies, and it doesn't fare well if you've got metal toxins in your body. It's like it's a recipe for disaster long term. So unless you live in the woods and you haven't got Wi-Fi, then it's not bothering you.
Yeah. It might be something else that would bother them.
Yeah.
The thing, we're all on our personal journey, and we just, I think, like on every level, just have to be mindful what we consume. Because
Absolutely.
we like, there's not everybody that's going to hear this podcast, and why should they listen to us? So people are going to be on their own journeys figuring things out. they're going to be ordering from some slick, site that is marketed very well. I just saw like an hour and a half ago on Facebook, one of my friends had sent me this, buy these shorts because I'm older now. I want something that's more classy. And then, they look really nice and they're stretchy. But when you go to the website, they just have like a lot of information there. It's excitable, but they don't show what the fabric is. My guess, it's got recycled plastic in there, and that's what our body's absorbing. And they don't have anywhere where you can find that. So buyer beware, or buyer be aware.
Yeah, read the labels and find out what clothes you're putting on as well, because it's absorbed through your skin. And it's got to the point now where everything, you need to just be, like you say, Lisa, be aware of everything, what you're eating, what's on the labels, read the labels, what you're putting into your body. Don't just think drinking 8 glasses of water a day is all you need to do, because then you may be losing some of the minerals and salts in your body. So you still, need to be aware, pinch of salt if you're drinking a lot of water and electrolytes and so on and so forth. And as you said, Laura, everyone's different. I had a friend years ago who was English, but very into Chinese medicines. I think I've mentioned it before. Yeah. She was always Chinese medicines, herbal teas, this, that. It ended up giving her a liver disorder, because I think Chinese medicine is for Chinese people. It's like where you are born, how close or far you are from sea level, you need certain things in your diet that feel more natural to your ancestral lineage, shall we say. So, certain people are good with food that's grown underneath the ground. Other people need food that's grown above the ground, and it makes a difference to your system. And just being careful not to overdo it with the holistic stuff, because you can. Too much energy healing. I say it to people all the time, especially in my group. Don't do too much, because it can overwhelm your system, and then you get a massive healing crisis.
Exactly.
When the energy's rushing through you and there's a backup of all this stuff because you've overdone it, trying to come out of your system, and it can floor you. It can put you in bed for weeks.
That's also it's not just with physical healing, it's also with emotional healing.
Oh yeah, mental, emotional as well.
So the work that we do, I mean, I tell people, I don't want to do, first of all, everything that I do, I'm testing to see if this is safe and appropriate to release something now or to continue with it. But if there's too much that is crammed into a session, sometimes people can feel worse before they feel better. So it's the same thing, whether it's physical detox or mental and emotional as well.
And spiritual.
Spiritual.
Years ago, like my uncle, he passed away at the age of 91. So he did something right, long life. But years ago, he was juicing carrots, and then his skin started to turn orange. So I think I would say that's too much. That's an indication of too much juicing of carrots.
I know someone in the UK who's really into food. She's
Keratin.
a foodie and open to all this stuff, and she wouldn't touch carrots. And then I watched something about how they've changed the color of carrots as well, and that particularly in women, they can cause infertility.
And not just the color, the whole look of them. Now they're these perfect, elongated orange, and before they kind of just look like roots.
Yeah, they look more like turnips, and were different
Exactly.
shapes and sizes, and they've been genetically modified. And that particular root, anyway, is linked into infertility and maybe even miscarriages and stuff
Yeah,
like
so
that.
can imagine if you're juicing, you're getting such a concentrated amount. My parents used to do a lot of carrot juicing, a ton of it. And, because that was big for a while.
Yeah, I
But
don't
yeah,
have them very often now.
you're getting such a concentrated dose of it.
Yeah. And when you think about food is medicine, that's why your plate should be all different colors of food. Not too much of one thing. It's just like overdosing on anything. Okay, so anything else that we wanted to touch on today? I know I shared a few things, and it's like, oh yeah, the fake meat. Have you seen that? the fake meat that's out there at the moment.
Yeah.
Stretchy, even when you put it in the freezer, it's taking
Oh,
3 days to freeze.
So it's not like the Impossible Burger. It's not like the ones that are calling themselves
No.
fake. That's what they've actually.
Yeah, the one I saw was prime rib from I won't say the huge supermarket, cheap
In
supermarket.
Canada here?
Yeah. Yeah. And it's packed as prime rib. And
Yeah, but
it
I
put
don't have I don't have a problem with that if they're going to do that, but frickin' put it on the label.
Yeah, well, it's not on the label. That was the whole point. This guy went on the internet and said, look, the label says prime beef, prime rib, and he put it in his freezer and it was not frozen 3 days later. It was like stretchy and chewy. So, people need to be aware. And the other thing that
Buy
popped up,
local, buy local.
yeah, I buy my local butcher. They don't use any animals that have been vaccinated or anything.
Right.
No
Beautiful.
antibiotics, nice clean meat for my dog.
Your dog eats better than you, Janine.
He's better than a lot of people, but he's only
Yeah.
3.5 pounds, so it's easy to feed him. It's not
Yeah.
expensive. And the other thing that popped up, did you see that thing about men losing their Adam's apples?
Yeah, I sent you that. Wasn't that
Yeah,
interesting?
isn't it?
Wow.
It is weird.
Yeah.
It's to do with the lack of testosterone
Yep.
Wow.
in their systems. So there's more of the estrogen and the female hormones going into the water supply because of contraceptive pills, and we're peeing it out, and it's not being, the water's being recycled and cleansed and purified, but it's not clearing that stuff out of it, we're being told. That's affecting men's libidos, it's affecting their
Their
testosterone levels,
masculinity.
the masculinity, the way they feel. They're growing man boobs, moobs as they call them. And you
Smaller
can see
testicles,
it.
smaller penis. Yeah.
Yeah, all of that stuff being affected by it. So guys, if you're listening to this, you need to get onto this and start, no men want their penis to shrivel up and disappear. Let's be honest. The same thing with testosterone is produced in the body if you have a lot of chili. Did you know that?
Oh,
Spicy food, chilies, raise your testosterone level. So that's something for women to be aware of as well if you're having a lot of chilies in your food. So that's interesting what's going on for sure.
apparently with the jalapenos, like in Mexico, they have some of the lowest incidences rates of cancers, and they attribute it to a lot of the peppers, like the jalapeno peppers, that which
Yeah,
they eat regularly. Yeah, and I think that's great. It's good for parasites, and as we
yeah,
know, the connection to the C word, right?
yeah, yeah. Okay, well, that's all I've got for this week, guys, unless you've got anything else you'd like to share.
No, I think
We're good?
Yeah.
We're good.
good.
Okay, folks, thanks for listening. Please do share this with your friends, and we'll see you next time on Talking Timelines. Bye for now.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Disclaimer: the content in this podcast is intended for educational and informational purposes only. The views, opinions, and information shared do not necessarily represent those of the hosts, but is provided for additional perspectives. None of the hosts are medical professionals, so we do not dispense medical advice. Please consult your healthcare professional for any health-related issues. And thank you for listening to Talking Timelines.